Manage Comics. Coming to you from a secret underground lair, these dedicated heroes discuss the business of comics, industry news, comic book retail issues, and the latest developments from Manage Comics. They are promoters of comics, champions of small business, and four-color heroes. They are the Manage Comics team.
Welcome. It is an all-new Meanwhile at Manage Comics. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I couldn't remember how to turn on the lights behind me. My camera isn't quite where I like it to be, but we'll get by. So today we are going to talk about the New York Comicon and force multipliers for good. That's a whole other stream. So we're going to talk about the New York Comicon in review and kind of what we saw there. And there's going to be a little bit of a talk about the fan confidence rating. So yeah, we're going to talk about the October 16th day. So there was a day before Comic-Con where retailers got together as part of a Comics Pro thing, which was awesome. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk about the 4 days. Honestly, I was on the show floor for 20 minutes. I spent a lot of time in kind of the retailer area and chatting with people. The best convention I've ever had. The post con for me this year was like 10 out of 10. The actual con, which was cool as all heck, and I wish I would have spent more time on it, was like I barely went, but it was great. So day 0 on the Wednesday was the Comics Pro retailer day. There was a lot of fun retailer-specific programming, and it started out with 2 panels. One of them was cultivating the customer experience, and it was more about how to make an awesome shop that is a destination. And that was really, really cool. I wasn't part of that one because I don't have a shop, but I was part of the Making Holidays the Most Wonderful Time of Your Year, and it was really talking about what to do to prep for the holidays. Some of the ideas that were great and that I want to talk to my partner Craig about if we can come up with kind of a template for this. One of them was a retailer or a Christmas gift guide, basically. As a kid, everybody remembers the Christmas Wish book, right? And our in Canada here, we still have Toys R Us, and there's a fairly thick catalog that goes out. We have a place called Mastermind Toys that does this amazing Christmas Wish book, which was such an awesome asset to give to my Christmas kids for before Christmas every year and say, what are you guys into this year? Because their tastes change so quickly. So having that for your comic shop with here's 5 amazing things. Hey, did you know there's a new Dogman that comes out like 2 weeks before Christmas? That might be something you want to get. I think that is a huge valuable asset. And it's something that we'll look into if we can kind of templatize and see if we can get you guys a template that you could fill out on your own. On top of that, I talked a little bit about the things that you should be doing online to help improve your store. So things like your Google My Business, getting that up to snuff and really ready. Cleaning up and maintaining your email database, which is super important because you can start marketing to all the people with that email database right now about Christmas. We talked a little bit about just SEO in general and just making sure that your site is ranking high. One of the best ways that you can do that is what all you are doing, which is using Shopify. Shopify's SEO is amazing. So yeah, we'll definitely be kind of promoting a bunch of that stuff. And Craig and I are going to work on some kind of what you can do to get ready for the holidays content over the next few days. So that was kind of our panel. Oops, I gotta click the button. Prana DM introduced the fan confidence rating, which we're going to talk a bunch about later. This is intended to show data for retailers and publishers that will make it possible for them to make changes to their marketing at the right time. So yeah, we will let you know a little bit more about that later today during this. So stay tuned. Todd McFarlane came by. He brought his energy. He to me is like the new less problematic. Stan Lee for the comics industry. He's just so enthusiastic and he loves comics so much, and it shows. He was scheduled for 10 minutes. I think he took like 30, gave away a bunch of signed Spawn 327s or something like that. And he was just saying that like this wouldn't be available even until the Thursday. So these guys were getting it 2 days early. So that was pretty cool. He talked about how retailers are the key to increase sales, and that putting good product out that retailers can sell is his job. And somebody asked him about the Spawn movie, and he said, "Oh man, I'm going to write a book about this someday because I guess it's back." Kind of for a while there, I think Blumhouse was supposed to make it, and it looked like he was going to direct it. And he said it's kind of back on the back shelf again. Oh, James Tinian the fourth talked about his Project Exquisite, which is a new shared universe horror series line, which I think was from Image. I'm pretty sure it was from Image. So that will be beginning in 2025, and he was just really enthusiastic about it, and I think all of his stuff looks really interesting. The thing I was most excited about, Lucky Devils from the 8 Billion Genies team. It's about the devils on your shoulder. So like the guys that tell you to do the bad things. It's 9 issues. Each issue is going to represent a level of hell. It's like kind of wrath, sloth, gluttony, all that stuff. Charles Soule and Ryan Brown are going to be doing tons of support for this series. So keep an eye out for that, because like with 8 Billion Genies, they did a van tour to different shops. So I think they're planning on doing something very similar again. Congrats to Managed Comics shop Peebles for winning the Image Select Retailer Award. Let me go in big. So Simon and Claire are awesome people. They really, really have been contributing a lot of ideas and stuff about Managed Comics. Simon used to run Subacomic in the UK, and so he really gets kind of the online side of things, and he's given me some great feedback and stuff. Unfortunately, we're not nearly fast enough to do as many things as he's come up with. But yeah, it's so great that they won this award. And it's a industry award, or sorry, it's a community award. So your customers can nominate you for the Image Select Retailer Award. They give it away 4 times a year. So look into that and see if you can get on there, because the more Managed Comic shops that get that, the better. Day 1 of the actual convention, there was like from 2:00 until I think like about 8, there was the ICV2 presentations and insiders talks. And that starts off with Milton from ICV2 talking about the state of the industry every year. This year, he said that there was 1.87 billion in comic sales, that 61% of that went to the book channel, 36% to comic shops. Guess the rest would be like online retailers or something. Overall, the numbers are down from the 2022 peak, but they're still up from 2019 levels. So we're seeing we saw last year, especially in 2023, a fairly significant dip, but most people are saying that there's been a pretty decent kind of rebound this year. Manga has still seen a significant drop. One of the big news of the show was the Marvel Premiere Comics. I have one of these in hand, and I thought I'd be able to show it around. It's got a really nice kind of velvety feeling cover. It's that like, I'm trying to think of another book that has it, that I love that feeling. A lot of my art books have this feeling, but it's like this like super kind of almost squishy feeling, but it's not. Paper stock for the covers. They're going to collect anywhere between 8 and 19 issues. So that Fantastic Four Solve Everything is 19 issues for $14.99, which is a tremendous value. They're a little bit bigger than the compact comics because they're 6x9 instead of, I think DC's are like 5 1/4 by 8 3/4 or something like that. And they're intended as disposable 3/4 size, the regular comic chunk of reading material. Of course, Marvel continues to make waves with Ultimate Universe, and they want to make all of the money with Ultimate Wolverine. The costume's weird. It looks like a Russian star to me, but I think it's supposed to be a maple leaf. But you know what? I'm not going to judge it. Everything that they've done with the Ultimate stuff has been terrific so far. So yeah. IDW launched a new logo. Okay. I don't know what to say. As somebody who's done a fair amount of logo design and graphic design, not where I would gone, but whatever. I love the light bulb logo. I wish they would go back to the light bulb logo because it was so clever. And it's ideas design works. Idea design works. Like, why aren't you using that? It's right there. Ignition Press launched from Philip Sablik, Jamie S. Rich, Eric Glitter, and Jeremy Hahn. They had a really great launch event at a bar in downtown New York. Plus, they had a few of us up to their suite to talk, and I got to sit in one of the most bizarre moments of my life, where I was sitting in a room with Jamie S. Rich, who's the former president of IDW, Philip Sablik, the former publisher of Boom Studio, Eric Glitter, a producer on like Scott Pilgrim versus the World and Ignition and tons of stuff, Jeremy Hahn, who's like an amazing creator, sitting there, and in walks Paul Levitz. And Paul Levitz like kind of held court for a few minutes. And it was just so much fun. I was just like, 14-year-old me is just sitting there going, what has my life become? Where I'm sitting here like drinking amazing bourbon with these guys. Eric brought some Pappy, which if you know what that is, it's just like, wow. It was like angels dancing on my tongue. Really, really cool. And then later that night, we all got to kind of dress up and show up at this party. And at one point I was just like hanging out, talking to somebody, and they introduced themselves as Mitch, and we kept on talking. And I was like, huh, that's Mitch Gerards. All right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's what my life's become. And it's kind of fun. 14-year-old me is in awe. Let's talk a little bit about the fan confidence rating. But before we do, I'm going to dive into some comments because I realized that my comments tab was not open. Revenge of says, howdy. Hey, how's it going? Tony Cade says he's looking forward to this stream. Revenge of says, this is probably Joe. Can't wait to see you all in February. Yeah. So, Comics Pro has been announced for their annual general meeting on February 20th to 23rd, I think, in Los Angeles, California. Specifically, I want to say it's like right next to Burbank. Joe, if you can let us know, the word is escaping me. I know it starts with an E, and I can't remember. Joe also said the new enhanced Google SEO stuff is great. We should talk about this a little bit, and maybe we can update some. We updated as soon as Managed Comics imports. Tony says one of my employees mentioned creating a gift guide earlier this week. Perfect timing. Brandon says the Tinian Walsh thing is definitely image. Okay, perfect. Galactic Quest says, howdy, hope New York time was a great time for you. Yeah, it was awesome, and I desperately needed it. Are the Marvel, yeah, they're almost exactly like the DC Compacts, just a little bit bigger. I wish I would have had both of them down here, because I've got a DC Compact and I've got one of these guys. They're amazing. They're really great. Like, it's such a great presentation. The one I have is Daredevil. What is that? Is that Man But Without Fear, the Frank Miller run? I have that, and it looks beautiful. It's so great. How's everyone feel about Absolute? So far, Absolute Wonder Woman is our fave, but is selling a bit slower than Batman. I think so. Between you and me, I think Absolute Wonder Woman is the sleeper. I think that's going to sell so much better at some point. It is so cool. It reminds me a lot of the New 52. Personally, I can't wait to read more of that. I really enjoyed Batman, though. I think so far this is great. And from what I've heard from our retailers, chime in below how it's selling for you. Yeah, I've heard that the Absolute stuff is selling fairly well. And it's Glendale. Thanks, Joe. It is Joe, right? I just want to make sure I've got the right person. Let's talk a little bit about the fan confidence rating. So, Absolute Wonder Woman is honestly about twice as good as Absolute Batman, personally. I really, really liked it. And I liked Absolute Batman a lot. So that says a lot that I really like this as much. It is Joe. Good for me. So let's talk a little bit about the fan confidence rating. So this was launched at New York Comicon by Adam and his team at Prana DM. Really, really interesting thing. And I've been talking with Adam about this for a while. So let me back up a little bit. So I've been getting requests for quite a while for sales data, and I've always been hesitant to give sales data for a number of reasons, not the least of which is I think that giving sales data the way that people want the sales data would require me to do a lot of kind of going back to you guys and making sure that all that stuff is okay, because they want geographical data and stuff like that. Since day one with Managed Comics, we have always saved a number to each product in GeekFetch. So what we do every night is we do a job where we run a number back that says this number of people are subscribed, this number of people have pre-orders, this number of people have physically purchased something in the store, specifically per each GeekFetch ID. The reason we've always done this is because very, very early on, I got into conversations with publishers and distributors where it was like, I think you should do this instead of that because, we're going to see differences in numbers. And I think never gets me anywhere. However, I've found in my career that I know gets me a lot of places. So by taking that, one of the very early things we could do is reach out to Image and say, you guys have Radiant Black number 25 and you're doing like this A and B where it's a different story. That is dramatically impacting your numbers on these issues. And I'll tell you why. And we can show that to them 3 months in advance and again 3 weeks in advance. Being able to have those conversations and say, this is a really cool idea. It's terrible for business. And here's why. Dramatically changes those conversations. When Radiant Black did the glow in the dark cover and used a whole different UPC for number 25, substantial problems that caused. So being able to show that kind of stuff is really important. So having those numbers, and they're completely 1000% anonymized. Literally every night we say GeekFetch ID has this many subscriptions across the entire network. Plunk, it goes into our database. This GeekFetch ID also has this many pre-orders. Plunk, it goes into our database. So the only thing that's available in the GeekFetch database is this completely anonymized data. Number 2, the Managed Comics production database has exactly 2 people who have access to it, me and Taras. If I have my way, I will not have access to it, but he wants a backup in case, something goes wrong. Fine. But there are only 2 people who have it. We actually have to register that with Shopify that there are only 2 people that have access to it. We have like a data protection agreement with them where we tell them, how many of our staff have access to our production data. 2, Dose, me, Taras. GeekFetch, we only have, 5 people who have access to GeekFetch in any meaningful way. And of them, myself and Max can actually make significant changes to data. And myself, Max, and Taras, and now Adam have access to what we're calling sales data, but which really subscription data. So like your data is safe on your instance. The stuff that we have is so ridiculously abstracted that if somebody were to ask us to pull them out, I don't know if we could without significantly breaking the entire chain of things because it's abstracted, and it would also cause data to become less abstracted. So that I just wanted to talk about data a little bit just to make sure that that's kind of clear. How do I get this thing back? There we go. Coming back here. So this fan confidence rating actually takes those pre-order numbers and so it takes the subscription numbers and the pre-order numbers and kind of combines them. And then we can apply dates to see when things have changed. So we can say, what were the subscription numbers and pre-order numbers for Absolute Batman when it was first solicited? What were they 3 weeks before it was solicited? And if those numbers increase, then that means the fan confidence is really, really high. We can also take a look at what shelf copies you guys have ordered. And we can say, okay, if fan confidence is like there's 5,000 units of this ordered, and retailers are ordering an additional 10,000 units, that means retailers are more confident in this than fans are. And if the number is reverse, that um, fans have pre-ordered 10,000 units of this and retailers only want 5,000, that means that retailers are convinced that they're going to pretty much satiate the needs of their market from pre-orders only, and that they're not as confident. So that number becomes significant. I've always thought that this number was more important than sales number, because a sales number is a look back at the past, whereas these numbers are a look into the future and to see how you can change those numbers. So for example, if a publisher thought that the retailer numbers were way too low and the fan numbers were very, very high, they might choose to do an overship on that because they know that they can sell more into the market. And then that's going to encourage you to buy more of number two because you're going to sell more of number one, right? So to me, yeah, these are things that like I've always hated sales charts because it's just a horse race. And horse races are really, really exciting for about 5 minutes and then you forget about them. This is something that can actually change the entire industry. And by the way, Adam is the only person who is interested in kind of pursuing this with me. So yeah, this little chart here shows us the average consumer copies have grown 20.3% every year since January 2023. The average consumer copies are up 38.3% since January 23, and comic subscriptions and pre-orders are up. So we actually factor in how many stores are reporting, and then they do math to kind of figure that out. And that's just like a number, like at this point in time, we had 150 stores that had placed orders for these books, kind of thing. The average retail dollar per store by publisher is also another kind of interesting thing. And this is as close to a horse race as we're going to get, but it shows a great story about subscriptions and pre-orders by dollar based off of credit cover price. And it also shows us that Distillery is number 9, according to, per dollar. Of course, Marvel and DC are way out there. Image is pretty high. And then kind of it trickles down after that. But as a first year publisher, this is pretty impressive. And not only that, but Distillery was so impressed with it that they said they cracked the top 10, a revolution in comics publishing. So they released this press release, and we're super happy they're in the top 10. I think that Distillery's books are super awesome. Like I said, this data is double blind. GeekFetch is firewalled from Managed Comics. It's an aggregate number, cannot be used to geolocate stores. We believe in your privacy as much as you do. And next week, we're going to have Adam Freeman from Prana to discuss this. So next Thursday, October 31st, Halloween at 4 p.m. I may tweak that. We may go like Friday instead because I'm a little worried about competing with Halloween next week. So I'm going to talk to him and see if we can push to Friday instead. And yeah, book a meeting with me if you'd like to talk about this or anything else. But in the meantime, does anyone have any questions for me while we're going through here? I'm going to jump back and see what people are saying. Brandon said Absolute Wonder Woman is doing quite well, but I know the collected edition was worth. Yeah, it's going to make tons of money. I hope they do like a really nice hardcover before they do a trade, because I think that's the way to go with this. This, like, DC's been releasing the hardcover and trade at the exact same time, and I feel like they're leaving some money on the table there. Absolutely love the idea of fan confidence rating. Love it. Haven't gotten to read Absolute Wonder Woman, but the Batman one was awesome. Very happy with the whole Absolute line. Working class. Yeah, I love that. Joe, I might have missed it. This is all proprietary. So yeah, so right now it's us, and Comic Shop Assistant is going to be providing data with their, I think they've got like 40 stores and they're growing. Right now, this data is kind of like Adam is slicing and dicing it. I can't even really understand it the way he's understanding it, but the stuff he's pulling out of it is really interesting. But our goal with this is to make it available to managed comics retailers so that you guys will be able to see trends before anyone else can. Obviously, you're going to see trends within your own data, but I think it would be nice to be able to show you larger industry trends. So if we see that the power fantasy after issue 4 is suddenly really picking up steam, you may not see that in your own local store, but maybe there's a story missing that you're not aware of, and this will give you kind of the impetus to look into that. So we definitely are going to be, and we're trying to figure out, Adam and I are trying to figure out like what shape that takes. We've talked about doing like a weekly kind of video checkup. We've also talked about emails. We've talked about PDF downloads and stuff like that. So give us a little bit of time to figure this out. We literally scrambled to get this ready for New York Comicon because we wanted to make a bit of an impact. And so far, the response to it has been tremendous. But like, to be clear, my first priority is to get really good information for you guys to help you make decisions and to see new trends, because I think that's super important. Yeah, awesome. Anybody have any other questions for me? Like, you all know, I love to keep it tight 30. So we're about 1 minute away from my tight 30 being up. So if anybody's got any questions, shoot them now. I think that's my last slide. Yeah, it's just the question slide. I'm going to leave this up. So if anybody wants to book a meeting with me to talk about anything, you want to talk about managed comics, you want to get some tips and tricks, you just go to managedcomics.com/meeting and book a meeting, and it'll book like 30 minutes with me. We can chat about whatever you want to talk about. If you just want to sit down for 30 minutes and talk about Starman with me, like I'll talk about Starman for 30 minutes. I mean, we may have to extend it to an hour if you really want to get into it, but I'm here for that. Yeah, and we Managed Comics will be at Comics Pro in February. So everybody that can make it would be awesome to see you. If you need more information about Comics Pro, I'm going to definitely send some more stuff out in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, we'll definitely get you hooked up with Comics Pro. And I'm trying to think if there's something else going on. I think I'm going to do C2E2 next year. Reed Pop is talking about doing more retailer day stuff. So I think I'll probably do that with them. And I'm not sure, I may be able to make it to San Diego Comic-Con next year, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. And then we'd like to get some Canadian things going on too. So I've got to talk to the Fan Expo people about getting at least Toronto going on. But, it'd be nice to do like Toronto and Calgary, a couple of West Coast things, maybe even MegaCon. So yeah, that's it. Tony asks, does anyone know why manga is down? They always seem to roller coaster. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I haven't looked into it too deeply. I know part of it was kind of a supply chain thing. It was just so hard to get stuff at one point that, you have that nobody can get stuff, and then people kind of don't look for it for a while. I think some of it could also be just there was nothing to do in 2022 other than in 2021, and other than read. You couldn't even go to a movie, and now all that stuff's back up kind of at max capacity again. So I think attention is just divided amongst other things, but I don't know for sure. Those are all just kind of assumptions on my part. Be interesting to find out for sure as we kind of research this stuff and look into it. Anyway, next week, Adam Freeman from Prana Direct Market Solutions will be here. We're going to talk a little bit about his comic book store checkup, where he will actually help you kind of save some money. And he claims that he can save you enough money to send you on an all expenses paid trip to Disney. I don't know whether that's land or world, but I mean, hey, worth a look. And we'll also be talking a lot more about the fan confidence rating and kind of how that thing is calculated and what our overall plans are for it. So in the meantime and in between times, keep managing those comics. All right. See you guys next week. So long for now.